Welcome home. The first time a game made me steal was in Warcraft 3. I was playing Orc in a 4 vs 4 match. My nearest ally had been fighting a camp of monsters, just as I summoned my Blade Master. My Blade Master arrived just as the big boss of the monster camp fell, dropping a highly valuable Slippers of Agility, which boosts agility by 3, the favored stat of my Blade Master. In that moment, as that glittering treasure chest opened on the floor, my Blade Master and my ally's Farseer locked eyes, and I confess, the temptation was simply too great. I popped Windwalk, ran directly through my ally's units, and nicked the freshly dropped gaming socks. In response, my ally sent an angry chat message in Russian. Suddenly realizing the consequence of my theft, I attempted to resolve the situation diplomatically, and extended an olive branch in the chat by typing LOL. Whereupon my ally left the game. Our team was suddenly one man short, and our 4 opponents, smelling blood in the water, rushed us, and we got pwned. A book has never made me steal like this, and neither has a movie. So what is it that games do that makes stealing fun? Let's explore stealing in video games. Like and subscribe now for a chance to win a Dusty Horse. Stealing means you take something not meant for you. In video games, this means high-level gear and super valuable treasure. One of the first things to do in Skyrim is steal, because it's very rewarding. Peering eyes are easy to avoid, and even if you are caught, fines are easy to pay off. Yet, in Fallout 3, you're constantly being watched, and the punishment for stealing is death. Even though they're the same genre, they're made by the same people, and they almost completely share the same stealing system. These games are completely split when it comes to stealing, and stealing is fun in one game and sucks in the other. Let's look at 2 categories of stealing, and see if we can figure out what makes stealing so fun in Skyrim, but what makes it suck in Fallout. Starting with games in which stealing is awesome. Let's have a look at our hero first, Skyrim. Skyrim just nails it. There's tons of cool locations to sneak inside, filled with awesome characters to steal from, and once you're inside, you'll find cool and unique loot, which is almost always useless to gameplay, but it's super fun to steal. The locations are fun, the loot is fun, but the stealing itself is also fun. Pickpocketing is just a dice roll, but skulking around someone's house and making a break for the complex lock when no one is looking, all of that captures the feeling that all thieves love. In The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, the Thieves Guild quest starts simply by sneaking coins from city officials, but work up into perilous heists, and eventually into legendary thefts, like stealing an Elder Scroll from a holy monastery, or making people pay $60 for an unfinished game. The Elder Scroll heist is especially memorable because the monks you're stealing from have all been blinded by the years spent studying the magical Elder Scroll, which, much like the Quran, has always existed and will always exist. This turns the regular stealthing on its head. You can now hide in plain sight, but even the slightest noise will set the monks off. This lore gameplay interaction already makes the heist amazing, but it's spiced up by the most delicate part of this heist, where at the climax, you gaslight the monks into thinking you're a woman, whereupon the poor simps just hand you the Elder Scroll. Naughty. Oblivion really makes you feel like a thief. And speaking of Thief is another game series with great stealing, where every mission is a new location to burglarize. Just staying unseen is satisfying, because the risk of being spotted fills the whole game with tension. Thief perfectly captures the juiciest part of stealing: coziness, being veiled by the shadows, sitting unseen and unknown while staring directly at a guard's ass. Thief also gives the creative weasel inside all of us lots of fun tools, like arrows that deploy rope you can climb, or moss that mask footsteps. Dishonored is a game that's inspired by the Thief series, and several levels have super neat stealing, like a painter's safe room containing fine art that's unlocked by backtracking if you extort the painter later in the level. Dishonored is also sprinkled with little hidden alcoves and neat collectibles that captures the little things in the joy of stealing. These games are all excellent examples of fun stealing, but what about the others, where stealing is just not, it just sucks, it's just awful, I hate it. Games in which stealing is When the Fallout series was owned by Interplay, it approached moral choices with a karma system that silently tracked your good and bad deeds in the world. But when Bethesda bought Fallout and made Fallout 3, they put their own retarded spin on the system, where karma became ever-present, everywhere, which means any good or bad action in Fallout 3 affects your karma, leading to a world where if you steal the same can of tinned beans over and over, you eventually become the karmic equivalent of Satan, which locks you out of the best companions in the game and turns the game's NPCs into sarcastic white girls. Oh great, you again. Look, Why don't you just get out of here, Libra? This solution sucks because it means that you're punished even if you're never caught stealing. Fallout 3's game world also severely lacks big locations to heist or neat endgame items to buy. Obsidian later improved this a lot in Fallout New Vegas by adding lots of awesome locations to steal from, but while still retaining the karma system for some fucking reason, despite adding the new faction reputation system, which works much better. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. JRPGs are also notoriously stinky with their stealing, since the act is relegated to steal moves, as in abilities you use on an enemy that just generates an item for you. Occasionally, this is the only way to get certain powerful items, like the stat-up tabs in Chrono Trigger, which does make the stealing feel kinda powerful and neat, but it's never like you're breaking the game's rules or expectations. You can't do anything truly creative with it, like sneaking up on an enemy and stealing their weapons, which would then force them to surrender in a fight. And there's no other out-of-the-box solutions here either, like Interplay's Fallout 1 and 2's reverse pickpocketing, where a master thief can pickpocket one of their own armed bombs onto an enemy for a super creative stealth kill. From these good and bad examples, it seems the same 4 factors decide if the stealing is fun or stinky. First, mechanics. Stealing in JRPGs is just a button press, but in Dishonored there's detection, guard patrols, traversal moves, and lots of optional paths. Factor 2 is creativity, like the rope arrows in Thief that let you find completely new angles of attack. Third is the game's reaction. If you're caught stealing in Oblivion, you still have ways out, like negotiating with the guards or running away, which means the game isn't just forcing you to spam quick load. And when these 3 things come together, it creates tension, because both stealing and being found out is fun. And how does our hero Skyrim exceed at this, and how does our villain Fallout 3 fail at this? Mechanics. Skyrim and Fallout have the same stealth system, but Skyrim has stealth magic, light armor, poisons, gear enchanting, stuff that makes you feel and think like a thief. Fallout just has stealth boys and silenced guns, which has more to do with fighting than stealing. Creativity. Skyrim has loads of interesting places to sneak inside, with different guards and monsters and traps, all presenting interesting choices in how you deal with them. Fallout 3 just has the same copy-pasted ruin filled with raiders, where the best tool isn't stealthing, hacking, or lockpicking, but fighting. Game reaction. Skyrim lets you seek forgiveness and therefore lets you learn from mistakes. Meanwhile, being spotted in Fallout 3 is an instant death sentence. Fallout 3's cowardice with not letting its thieving system take the place it needs turns the game's stealing into turns it into more fighting, really. And we already have fighting, it's called fighting. When stealing is at its best, it feels like you're playing the same game in a different way, which is exactly what Skyrim stealing feels like, even though it's really just doing the bare minimum. But you know what? It's enough to let you feel like a thief. And it's why stealing in Skyrim is so much more than stealing in Fallout. Good job, Skyrim. But Nisse, how do you know all this? Because I love stealing, which is why I've never paid for Skyrim, which, I guess it's kind of fitting. If you like to steal a link and fence it to a den of thieves near you. Click here for more stealing in Stelios games. Shout out my fucking pog-ass patrons. Big boy himself, Michael Kennedy, Albin Lager, welcoming a fresh face in the Patreon club. Bartosz, Harry McKenzie, welcome to the squad, King. Nathan, Pumba, Omger, welcome to the squad, you too, King. Seppums and Jay Pinkman. I love you very, very fucking much. Mwah.